It was the year I turned 50. That's when I saw him, the man who swore he'd spend his life with me, strolling through the mall with his wife and daughter. Turns out I'd been the other man for 28 years, completely in the dark. His weekly business trips were just his time to be with his real family. He'd frowned and told me, "You're the one who turned me gay. You ruined my future. I'm not married to her, but I have to carry on the family line. It's just how it is." Now, I'm living it all over again, and this time, I'm orchestrating every chance for us to miss each other. When he grabs my arm in a panic, telling me I'm the one he loves, I just smile in confusion. "I'm sorry, have we met? Who are you?" I was reborn, back in my sophomore year of college. The sharp sound of the crash and the screams of passersby still echoed in my ears. I'd been in a daze when I got into the car accident. I died just like that, but in an instant, I was conscious again, staring at my own young face in the mirror. "Gary, you okay in there?" My roommate's worried voice came through the bathroom door. I splashed my face with cold water to calm down. "I'm fine. Hurry up. The game's about to start. We'll lose our good seats." He was getting antsy. It hit me. This was the day I was supposed to meet Julian for the first time. The beginning of the whole tragedy. A sharp pain shot through my heart. I gritted my teeth, forced myself to get it together, and called out, "My stomach's killing me. I'm gonna have to skip it today. You go on ahead." My roommate was still a little hesitant, but the basketball game was clearly the bigger draw. Only when I heard the dorm room door click shut did I slide to the floor, my strength gone. Staring up at the white ceiling, images of Julian flashed through my mind like a movie reel. I saw him at 48, looking down at me with a slight frown. "Gary, you're getting more and more unreasonable. We're middle-aged men, so let's just be direct. I'm not married to her, but I need to have kids. It's just how it is. And it's not like you can give me any, right?" His words were so direct, so cruel, they made my eyes burn. I mumbled, "But you used to say, that was then. We have to live in the real world. What will people think if I'm in my late 40s with no kids? How am I supposed to keep my job? Besides," he took a deep breath, his expression hardening with impatience. "You're the one who turned me in the first place, costing me so many opportunities. And now you won't even let me have a child? Gary, why do you have to be so selfish? But back then, you were the one who said you loved me. You were the one who said we could overcome anything and be happy together forever." There was so much I wanted to say, but all that came out was a weak, pale defense. "You could have just told me. We could have broken up. I wouldn't have stopped you from living a normal life, but this—" "Oh, stop being so naive, Gary," he cut me off. "Let's just pretend none of this happened. I'm still taking care of you, aren't I?" As I watched him slam the door on his way out, I felt a moment of disbelief. The boy whose eyes once shone with sincere love was gone, forever locked away in my memory. Over the long years, his skin had aged, and the person inside had rotted away. He had become this. Drip. The sound of a water droplet pulled me back from my thoughts. I looked at my pale face in the mirror and, after a moment, gave a bitter smile. "Julian, you said I was the one who turned you, right? Well, fate has given me a second chance. This time, I'll make sure we never even meet. We can both finally be free." It wasn't until the second day of my new life that it all started to feel real. Sitting in a university lecture hall again made me feel young all over. After class, the four of us from the dorm walked back together. "I don't know why, but I feel like you've seemed way calmer these past few days. Gary, it's like you have this..." Big Mike, my roommate, thought for a second before finding the right words. "You have this vibe like a wise old man." Another roommate added dramatically, "The way you look at us, it's like you're our loving father." Damn right, Gary's the one who always brings us food. He's the dad of this whole dorm. I just laughed, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone rush past, bumping into me and making me stumble. He muttered a quick sorry and kept walking, his head down. "Hey, watch where you're going, asshole." Big Mike was instantly pissed. "You okay, Gary?" "I'm fine." I shook my head, my brow furrowed as I watched the tall, straight back of the guy who was already far down the path. For some reason, Looking at him felt strangely familiar. Gary, you still staring? Big Mike nudged my shoulder and glanced in the same direction. What, you want to go beat him up? We can catch him. I quickly laughed it off. No, it's just his silhouette looks familiar. Hey, now that you mention it, I think so too. That whole lone wolf thing, isn't that? Big Mike jumped in. That prodigy from the physics department who skipped a few grades. Yeah, that's the one. Prodigy? Seeing my confusion, Big Mike slung an arm over my shoulder as we walked. He came from the gifted program, doing a combined bachelor's master's track. He's a sophomore, same year as us, but like 3 years younger. I think his name is Edward. The name hit me like a clap of thunder. I whipped my head around, but the figure was long gone. Whoa, what's up? You know him? No, I don't. But I'd heard of him in my past life. He eventually killed himself. I had a dream. I dreamed about what happened after I died in my past life. My body lay in the hospital morgue for 3 days, unclaimed. The police called Julian, but he always hung up impatiently after just a few words. Tell Gary he's too old for these stupid games. If he's out of money, he can just come crawling back. The police then found my parents' numbers. But I'd cut ties with them long ago when I came out, and they had both since remarried and started new families. The moment the police said my name, they hung up without a second thought. A young female officer looked at my photo on the file, looking puzzled. He looks like such a nice person, she said softly. Why doesn't anyone want to claim his body? I was floating beside her, looking at my own picture. It was my ID photo from when I was 34. My eyes were full of a gentle smile. I looked like any other young man happily in love. I knew she couldn't hear me, but I answered anyway, because the man who died was blind and foolish. Keep looking. Are there any other contacts? Another officer came over to look. I watched them scramble around for a while before they finally got in touch with one of my old college classmates. It was Big Mike who came to claim my body. He'd gone from young Big Mike to old, tired Mike. He stared at my body under the white sheet and took 2 harsh drags from his cigarette. Would you like to see him one last time? No, just have him cremated. I'll pay for it, he said, shaking his head with a sigh. He never got to see the ocean. My wife's heading to San Diego soon, so I'll take him with me. With that, he turned and walked out of the funeral home. He was sitting on the steps, having smoked 3 cigarettes, when a frantic Julian finally rushed up. Where's Gary? The man, softened by years of power and age, had a storm brewing in his eyes. Julian's first words were an arrogant, accusatory demand. Was this necessary? Getting you to come here and play along with his little drama. He must be bored out of his mind. Old Mike slowly ground the cigarette butt out with his foot before looking up at him. Just so you know, I have health insurance. Then he swung, landing a solid punch that left Julian stunned. Are you fucking crazy? Julian spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva. Take a good look at the sign on this building. I don't have time to come all the way out here to prank you. Old Mike sneered. Where's Gary? Gary? It was only then that Julian seemed to realize I was really dead. Half his face was already starting to swell as he stammered. Is he okay? Oh, he's fine. Just a pile of ashes now. But hey, he got lucky in one respect. He didn't have to see your face one last time. Wouldn't want to dirty his eyes. My dream ended on the image of Julian storming into the funeral home. Are you sure you're not coming to the game today? Big Mike asked me one more time. I was just pulling myself out of the chaotic dream, groggily rubbing my eyes. I nodded. There's an open lecture on the West Campus I'm interested in. I'm gonna go check it out. Ever since I was reborn, I'd been trying my best to avoid anything that could lead to an encounter with Julian. The basketball game was number 1 on that list. With that out of my schedule, I had a lot of free time. So I started seeking out different open lectures. When I got to the tiered classroom, I spotted a dark, solitary figure in the corner. It was Edward. After Big Mike had told me about him, I'd looked him up on the campus forums. A young genius, handsome, but with a strange, reclusive personality. Total loner. A person like that has their own world. Logically, he should have a strong inner self. As long as his world didn't collapse, he wouldn't do something so drastic. I blinked, then decided to walk over. Is this seat taken? He was bent over a piece of paper, scribbling down calculations. He didn't look up until I sat down next to him. Under a fringe of dark hair were a pair of clear, almond-shaped eyes. There was a small mole on the side of his sharp nose. With his strong brows and striking eyes, he had a rugged, almost aggressive sort of handsomeness. For a second, I was a bit lost in thought. He just silently shook his head and looked back down, sinking back into his own world. Every number on his scratch paper was perfectly neat. I couldn't understand any of it, but I could tell this was his world. So why did he end up walking toward death, step by step? Why are you staring at me? His voice was cool with a slightly raspy quality. He looked up again, his dark eyes fixed on me. Like a small animal wary of everything, his question was short and blunt. I smiled. I just have a good feeling about you. I'd like to be your friend. He frowned slightly, his clear eyes staring at me so intensely I felt like I was being watched by a wild animal. The boy's Adam's apple bobbed. His eyes showed surprise, then hesitation. Finally, he lowered his gaze as if making a great sacrifice and said, "Okay, it's fine if you don't want to," I said, a little disappointed. "Wait, what? You are now my friend. I'm Edward. What's your name?" He placed his left hand over mine on the table, speaking each word deliberately. The dry, warm touch on the back of my hand made my face feel a little hot for some reason. Gary. This was nothing like what the forums said. Just as I was about to say something else to Edward, I heard a familiar voice. "Hey, how come you're not at the game today?" Felt like catching a lecture. Even without turning around, I knew that voice. Julian. What was he doing here? It was as if the whole world went silent. I heard him laughing with a classmate as they took seats in the row behind me. Even though I hadn't seen Julian since I was reborn, his face appeared in my mind against my will. Tall, handsome, with a bright smile. On a young Julian, untouched by the hardships of life, you could feel the fiery, sincere love of a young man. The first time around, I went to watch the game. He saw me, got distracted, and was comically hit by the basketball. He told me later that he'd never liked guys before, that he was completely straight. But the moment he saw me, his heart skipped a beat. I was the one who turned him. It was supposed to be a sweet, romantic line. But over the years, with each repetition, it became an accusation. If it wasn't for you, I could have loved a woman and lived a normal life, instead of sneaking around in the shadows like some kind of freak. Why couldn't you have been a woman? What's so wrong with me wanting a kid? I don't doubt that his love in college was passionate. He held me and told me love could conquer all. But a person's heart can change in an instant, especially after we entered the real world, where there were too many temptations. Not everyone can hold on to who they were at the start. When we first started out, we were always broke. We'd huddle together on a single bed in a dark, damp apartment, holding each other tight. He would whisper one beautiful dream after another in my ear. It's a shame that when those dreams finally came true, they had already soured. This is for the best, Julian. In this life, we won't have to torture each other. Hey, I forgot a pen. You got an extra one? I heard Julian ask. Nah, sorry. I felt a warm touch on my spine, like a butterfly landing and taking off again. Julian was poking my back. He asked, "Hey man, you have an extra pen I could borrow?" My brow furrowed instinctively. A wave of physical revulsion washed over me, and I straightened my back, trying to put more distance between us. Then, without turning, I said in a low voice, "No." "What?" He seemed not to have heard me and leaned forward slightly. As he got closer, the familiar scent of his laundry detergent surrounded me. He was strangely loyal to some things, like his lifelong preference for lavender-scented detergent and his love for sleeping in sheets fresh from the sun. I pressed my lips together, forcing myself to recall the worst parts of my past life. My boyfriend says he doesn't have a pen. Try someone else. Edward, who had been silent this whole time, came to my rescue, though his choice of excuse was a bit awkward. I just shook my head with a helpless sigh. Boyfriend? Julian's tone was strange. He paused for a long moment, as if waiting for me to deny it. But I stayed quiet. Yeah, Edward finally replied. Sorry, Julian said after another moment of silence. Edward's voice was completely flat. The conversation ended there. Edward turned to me, glanced at my hand, then pulled my right hand over and placed it on top of his left, nodding in satisfaction. Liking guys, that's pretty messed up. I heard Julian mutter under his breath. A surge of anger shot through me. Before Edward could even react, I whipped my head around and glared at him, my expression cold. Who made you the king of everything? You think you can just go around telling people who they should or shouldn't like? It wouldn't be your business if someone was into an attack helicopter, so why are you calling people messed up? Apologize. The handsome, bright-eyed young man just stared at me blankly. After a moment, he blinked. His friend nudged him, but he didn't react at all. Edward's brow lowered, and a dangerous glint appeared in his dark eyes. Before I could do anything, he shot up from his seat, grabbed Julian by the collar, and started dragging him toward the aisle. Get out. What the hell is your problem? We were all hot-blooded college guys, and Julian's temper flared too. He tried to shove Edward's hand away. A fight between two good-looking guys in a classroom was bound to draw attention. Edward. I stood up too, hissing, it's fine. The professor is coming. He stared at me for a moment from under his dark bangs, then pressed his lips together, let go, and sat back down next to me. Julian looked like he wanted to say more, but just then the bell rang and the professor walked in. The classroom fell silent. As the professor lectured, my mind started to wander. I was already regretting my impulsive reaction. If I had just kept my cool, none of this would have happened. Having someone 3 years younger than me who I just met stand up for me felt weird. I glanced over at Edward. The anger that had clouded his features was gone. He was staring calmly and intently at the numbers on his scratch paper, completely absorbed in his own world. But maybe it was my imagination, because it looked like he was gripping his pen a little too tightly, his knuckles turning white. No matter how I looked at him, he just didn't seem like the kind of kid who would commit suicide. I remembered when he had died in my previous life. At a class reunion, someone had sadly mentioned the genius who passed away too soon and happened to say when it happened. It was right around my 6-year anniversary with Julian. Julian had swirled the wine in his glass, a strange, unreadable smile on his lips. After listening quietly, he'd commented in a hazy voice, "Yeah, it's a real shame." During the break, Edward pulled me out of the lecture hall. "What's wrong? Aren't you going to listen to the rest?" I asked, blinking. It didn't really matter to me either way, I was just there out of interest. Edward shook his head. "I've already self-studied it. I don't need to listen." "Then why did you come to class today?" I didn't ask out loud, feeling like it would be calling him out. "I'm sorry, Gary. The excuse I made up was a problem. It's okay, I don't mind. If there's nothing else, I'm heading back to my dorm," I said. Today was just not my day. I ended up seeing Julian after all, and all this unpleasantness happened. I should have just stayed in my room. Edward pursed his lips, looking straight at me. "We don't have each other's contact info yet, Gary," he said softly. "Oh right, I forgot." I smiled and took out my phone. "You can scan my code." After adding him, I noticed his profile picture was a white rabbit candy wrapper. A strange choice, but for some reason, looking at it made me frown. Felt familiar, like I'd seen it somewhere in my past life, but I couldn't quite place it. "Well, I'm heading out," I said, shaking my head to clear the thought. I waved to Edward. "Goodbye, Gary." Edward said goodbye with a seriousness that felt out of place. For some reason, his smile gave me a strange feeling. It was a look of affection, of longing, mixed with a kind of nostalgia that I couldn't quite understand. As if he would never see me again. "See ya." I turned and walked away. Edward watched me until I was almost out of sight before he rubbed his tired eyes, turned, and headed back, his head lowered. Since I was reborn, I wasn't just going to avoid my past mistakes, I was also going to pursue my dreams. In my last life, because of one thing Julian said, I turned down my advisor's offer to pursue a PhD. Instead, I helped him build his company from the ground up more than once. In the world of business, drinking until you had stomach bleeding was a minor issue. What mattered was closing the deal. Even though the company we founded eventually became a rising star in its industry, I always had regrets. The biggest one was my dream: high-precision chip research and development. A missed dream is a missed dream, but fate gave me another chance. This time I was going to grab it with both hands. Even with the memories of my past life, there was a lot I needed to do to get ahead, and I was busy. I looked down at my phone only after I had finished my goals for the day. The chat window was empty, still showing an emoji he'd sent weeks ago, a cute pink cat paw. Even though Edward and I were friends now, we didn't have much in common, so there was nothing to talk about. I hesitated for a moment, then sent him a message. "You there? I'm here." He replied almost instantly. I blinked, then slowly typed, "You free sometime soon? I'd like to treat you to a meal." "Yes." His reply was as concise as ever. I found it a little amusing. "Aren't you going to ask me when?" "Anytime you ask, I'm free." He replied. I chuckled helplessly. Just as I was about to type something else, a friend request popped up. Julian. Even though he didn't put his name in the request, I recognized his profile picture immediately. I hadn't thought about Julian in a long time. After 28 years of entanglement and torture, it seemed that in the days without him, everything was finally getting better. I stared at the profile picture, my thoughts a mess. "Why, Julian? I let you go. Why do you have to come looking for me again?" The message in his friend request was simple. "There's something I need to talk to you about. Please accept. Thanks." I took a deep breath and deleted the request. There was nothing left for us to talk about. I set a time to meet with Edward. I arrived at our spot 15 minutes early. But to my surprise, Edward was already there, standing under a cherry blossom tree. He was dressed up today, not in his usual drab gray hoodie. A crisp white shirt made his tall frame look even more striking. He'd gotten a haircut, too. The long bangs were gone, revealing sharp, handsome features. He stood there, head tilted up, gazing thoughtfully at the cherry blossoms, lost in his own world. Quite a few people were already secretly taking pictures of him. I could just imagine what the campus forums would look like tomorrow. I walked over and asked with a smile, "Been waiting long?" "No, I just got here myself." I reached up and brushed a stray cherry blossom petal from his shoulder, smiling. I didn't press the issue and instead said, "Come on. I'm taking you to a restaurant I really like." "Okay." As we walked, we chatted idly. "I heard you're from Northwood City too?" I asked. Edward looked at me intently before nodding. "Yeah. Small world. We might have even gone to the same school," I said with a laugh. A small smile touched Edward's lips. "I went to Westwood High." "Ah, I was hoping I could have been your upperclassman." "Too bad. I was at Northwood High." I sighed dramatically, then started to cross the street. He gently pulled me back, reminding me softly, "Wrong way." I froze for a second, then said, "Oh, right. Look at my memory. Let's go." It was just a small test, and Edward had already given himself away. I had only vaguely told him it was a restaurant I liked, but his reaction made it obvious he already knew which one I frequented. He was hiding a lot. I glanced at Edward out of the corner of my eye, then walked ahead with a lighter step. During dinner, I saw the same profile picture pop up in my friend requests again. "Julian. This is Julian. Add me. This is Julian. This is Julian. Me. Do you think I don't know who you are?" Why was he suddenly acting like a psycho? I frowned, annoyed by the harassment, and blocked him. I was in a great mood on the way back from dinner, and I found myself talking a lot, even with my quiet companion. I learned he was a little scared of dogs and that he liked sweet things. "So, your profile picture is a white rabbit wrapper. Is that your favorite candy?" His expression softened. "Yeah. I like it a lot. I love it too. I remember my mom used to buy it for me when I was a kid," I said with a smile, walking with my hands in my pockets. Of course, after my parents divorced and remarried, everything changed. They both had new families and didn't have much time for me anymore. That beautiful, fleeting time was now sealed deep in my memories, and thinking about it always made me feel a bit sad. Really? What a coincidence. Edward's smile was flawless as he said it. I just gave a soft MHM in response. Suddenly, a person burst out from the bushes, startling me. It was Julian. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were bloodshot, he hadn't shaved, and he was just staring at me. After a moment, a strange, dazed smile spread across his face, sent a chill down my spine. "Are you?" I was shocked. I took a step back, but he grabbed my arm before I could get far. "Who are you? Why are you grabbing me?" "Gary, it's me, Julian. Your partner. Don't you remember me?" His voice was hoarse, and if I listened closely, I could hear a faint tremor. His grip on my arm tightened. Hearing this, a wild thought crossed my mind. He time-traveled too. "I've never seen you before in my life. Who are you? If you don't let go, I'm calling the cops," I said, trying to pull my arm free. A fist flew past my face. The silent Edward had already thrown a punch. "Edward!" I tried to pull him back, but his eyes were red as he rained punch after punch on Julian's face. I won't let him kill you. This time, don't be afraid." I fell silent. Did everyone get reborn? If so, should I even bother pretending anymore? Might as well keep up the act. "Are you crazy?" I stepped between them. The fist heading straight for my face stopped in its tracks. "Gary." Edward's lips trembled as he said my name. I frowned and pushed his fists down with both hands. "I don't know what you two are talking about, but if the cops show up because you're brawling in the street, I'm not sticking around to bail you out. And I really didn't want tomorrow's headline to be 2 men fight over another man. Too embarrassing." I turned to face Julian. He had a look of flattered surprise on his face, and his eyes held a sickeningly deep affection. "Gary, there must be some misunderstanding between us. I can explain. It's okay if you don't remember me. We can get to know each other again. You'll fall for me," he said with absolute certainty. Countless images flashed through my mind. Finally settling on the moment, he slammed the door and left. I said, "I really don't know you. If you keep this up, Edward hits pretty hard, and I won't stop him next time. Besides, didn't you say it was disgusting for a man to like another man?" I watched his face go pale. I smiled, enunciating each word. "Don't you like women? Why are you coming back to drag me through the mud again? You're disgusting. I really, really hate you. Don't say that, Gary." "I don't know how you know my name," I said, brushing his hand off my sleeve, "but I don't like it when you say it. We're not close." I took Edward's hand and started to walk around him. "Gary, do you really think Edward is some kind of saint?" "Don't listen." Edward's face went white, and he tried to cover my ears. But the person who had been so strong just a moment ago was easily pushed away by me. I traveled back from the future. We were together from college until we were 50. You loved me so much. We were successful and happy. And Edward, he's just a cockroach spying on you from the darkness. He even sent you secret messages. He's a psycho, a freak, and he's cursed to die young. He'll bring you bad luck. I stood up straight and turned to face Julian calmly. A flicker of hope returned to Julian's eyes. He reached out to me. "Gary, come on. Come over here. I'll protect you." Edward's hands were trembling, but he stood silently and watched me go, not trying to stop me. I stopped right in front of him. I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. "Forget it. I'm done pretending. Julian, you ruined my last life. Are you trying to ruin this one too? You got me killed, and now you're putting on this big show of affection? You're so pure and innocent now. So what are you doing coming back to me? Didn't you think it was disgusting for men to like each other? Didn't you want a normal family? What the hell is wrong with you?" As I said the words, a dull ache started in my own heart. This wasn't about anyone else. At his core, Julian was just a scumbag. The day I got hit by the car, I was typing a text message. I wasn't sure if Julian's wife knew about me, but she had a right to know. I had to let that woman know that if she'd unknowingly married a gay man, her situation was no better than mine. With that thought, I stared into his panicked eyes and said, "You're the one who cursed me. You're the one who got me killed. Don't you understand how many people you've hurt? Julian, you're not just disgusting, you're a hypocrite." After that, I grabbed Edward's hand again and walked away. Julian knelt on the ground, not trying to stop me this time. Edward and I walked in silence for a long time. Finally, I broke the silence. I don't know why you like me, but I think you should probably stop. I'm not a great person. I'm not who you think I am. He turned his head to look at the sunset, at the sky, anywhere but at me. After a long pause, he answered softly, I've already liked you for over 10 years. So it was impossible for him to stop. I said, I can't be with you right now. Are you going to keep waiting? Waiting is what I do best. Edward's clear eyes met mine, filled with sincerity. Honestly, I was always fine with just loving you from the shadows. That was enough for me. I said, that's not good. That would make Gary a terrible person, letting you pine for him for so long. He's not terrible. Edward squinted, finally turning his head to look at me fully. Gary is the most beautiful and kindest person I've ever met in my life. I want to give him all the best things in the world, even if he doesn't like me back. You idiot. My voice was a soft sigh, my heart aching with a bittersweet feeling. He had hidden it so well in our past life that I never knew until I was dead. But his love had been there by my side from the very beginning. The white rabbit candies that appeared in my desk in high school. The umbrella that would suddenly show up when it rained. The hooded figure who would walk behind me on dark nights. The fact that my favorite restaurant in college always had a table free for me. The anonymous account that answered my questions on forums. He had been with me for a very long journey. I had another dream. It was the second one since I'd been reborn. This time, I was seeing the world through Edward's eyes, living through his lonely life with him. His mother had a sick, controlling obsession. Terrified that he would leave her silently like his father did, she kept him chained up at home like a dog when he was just a child. Every day, all Edward heard was scolding and belittling, followed by brief moments of affection and sorrow after the beatings. One day, his mother had to take him with her to an event. He huddled in a corner, watching the people come and go with dark, gloomy eyes. What a cute kid. What are you doing here? I saw my younger self standing in front of him with a big smile, pulling a white rabbit candy from my pocket. Here, have some candy. Back then, Edward couldn't even speak properly, only able to make soft sounds. He clutched the hem of his shirt, too scared to take the candy from my hand. My younger self heard my parents calling. I answered them, then stuffed a handful of candy into little Edward's hands, said goodbye, and hurried away. Little Edward didn't eat the candy. He kept it under his pillow. Eventually, the candy melted. Edward would hug the candy-scented pillow, clinging to it, wishing he could make the moment last longer. He knew he was sick, mentally ill. After a childhood like that, how could he not be? But just smelling the scent of those candies calmed him down. Later, his mother disappeared too. The government and community services helped put him through school. He followed in my footsteps with his outstanding grades, making it to the same junior high. But for high school, as a scholarship student, he had to attend a designated school. So every Sunday, he would finish all his homework in advance, ask his teacher for leave from the last 2 study periods, and walk from Westwood High to Northwood High. He would hide behind a tree, waiting for me to get out of school. He was a silent admirer, a knight in the shadows. But once Julian became aware of his existence, the chances for Edward to see me grew fewer and fewer, especially after graduation. Several times he sat in his car, saw Julian, and wanted to slam his foot on the gas. But he always managed to stop himself. Later, his illness flared up again because he hadn't seen me in almost half a year. Edward dry heaved, his fingertips trembling as he sent a text message with his personal information. Edward, 6 feet 2 inches, no bad habits, net worth, 9 figures. I'd like to be your other man, or your dog. As long as I can see you, please consider me. I'm begging you. The young man was curled up on his sofa, surrounded by white rabbit candies in a dark room, staring at his phone screen, his fingers twitching uncontrollably. Soon I replied, "Is that so, Edward? There is one place you could be of use to me." "What?" "Go die, Edward. My world will be cleaner when you're dead." Julian told me everything. "You're disgusting." I never wrote that message, I didn't even know about it. That could only mean Julian. I wanted to tell Edward, but it was just a dream, and he couldn't hear me. On that stormy night, he dragged himself to the roof of his company's building. The wind whipped his clothes, revealing a nearly skeletal back. He spread his arms, his face streaked with what could have been rain or tears, and jumped without a moment's hesitation. I tried to stop him, but my hand passed right through his body. After he died, his spirit stayed by my side. He watched me cry, sitting slumped on the floor. He knelt beside me, his hands cupped under my eyes, trying to catch my tears before they hit the ground. Even though he knew I couldn't hear him, he kept whispering, "Gary, don't cry. He's not worth it. Gary, I wish I could visit your dreams. I left all my money to you. Gary, seeing you like this hurts me too." After I was hit by the car, he knelt beside my body. "It's all my fault. It's all my fault. I only died because my illness got worse. I didn't protect you. If I had another chance, I would trade all my luck, my entire future, just for Gary to have another chance." At the very end of the dream, I heard a distant sigh from the heavens. Life went on. All the pain was yesterday's news. I got my PhD as I'd always wanted, graduated, and joined the research institute I'd dreamed of. This time, Edward was no longer a shadow. He was by my side through every key moment of my life. Julian, on the other hand, became the one hiding in the corner. I glanced down at the umbrella that had appeared on the rainy street, knowing it was from the thin figure huddled in the corner. I kicked it aside without a word and prepared to walk into the downpour. Just then, a black car pulled up. Edward got out, holding an open black umbrella, and hurried over to me. He glanced at the umbrella by my feet and chuckled softly. "Let's go." "Okay." I nodded and stepped under his umbrella. He tilted it completely over me, and the rain quickly soaked his left shoulder. "By the way, I accept." I said it suddenly as we walked toward the car. "WH?" He started to ask, then his eyes went wide. I smiled. "I accept. You've successfully won me over." Even though my last relationship was a painful wreck, I wouldn't lose my courage to love because of it. In every relationship, I would love bravely and sincerely, and be responsible for my partner. In that downpour, I finally felt like I had completely let go of the past. I had cleaned out the room of my heart and was ready to welcome someone new. We embraced in the storm, and he started happily humming singing in the rain. "You flew right into my arms. I'm never letting you go now." Edward's voice was low and husky, like the calm surface of the ocean churning to reveal the reefs below. I looked up toward the corner, where a pair of bloodshot, mournful eyes watched us. I smiled and said, "Good. I wouldn't have it any other way." Bonus chapter. Even though Edward and I were officially together, he was still deeply insecure. Because of this, he liked to hold me tight in his arms when we slept. He was a very light sleeper. A few times when I got too hot and tried to shift away slightly, he would mumble in his sleep and pull me back, his other hand patting my back soothingly, like he was comforting a child. But this time it was clear he was having a nightmare. I gently shook Edward awake. I knew it was hard for him to fall asleep, but he was trembling and crying, and it worried me sick. When he woke up, there were still tears at the corners of his eyes. He didn't say anything, just stared at me blankly. After a moment, the young man reached out a trembling hand and gently poked my cheek with his fingertip. "You're warm," Edward said, still dazed. "You're alive and happy, Gary." A warmth spread through my chest. I touched my nose to his and repeated patiently, "Emicham, that's right. I'm the alive, happy Gary who loves Edward." Edward quickly shook his head. "You don't have to love me. As long as Gary is happy, I don't care what happens to me." "You idiot," I sighed, pulling him into my arms. "Only the Gary who loves Edward is the truly alive and happy one. Edward and Gary are the best match in the world." I felt Edward's tears soak into my pajama shirt. "This isn't a dream? Gary loves me too." Gary. I answered him seriously and firmly. "Yes, it is. Gary loves Edward too." We just held each other quietly. For a long, long time, so long I thought he had fallen back asleep. Then Edward, thinking of something, mumbled, "Tomorrow will Gary buy me candy?" "White rabbit." As if by magic, I pulled a candy out from under my pillow. I can make one appear for you right now. A faint smile touched the young man's lips. His Adam's apple bobbed as he leaned in and kissed me. The kiss left me dazed. My vision started to blur, and I heard him whisper stickily in my ear, "Help me unwrap it." With trembling fingers, I tried to peel the wrapper off the white rabbit candy. "So sweet," I heard him say with a smile as he took the candy from my fingertips with his lips. Outside, a storm had begun to rage. I suddenly remembered that this was the night Edward had taken his life in the previous world. I hugged him even tighter, which earned a soft laugh from him. Luckily, this time we didn't miss each other.